Greetings, Missouri FBLA-PBL members. On behalf of our association, I would like to welcome you to this Expert Insights presentation. This year, we are bringing together business and industry leaders in a virtual format to help you, as members, see the many career opportunities in business. My name is Jocelyn Clayton, and I serve as the PBL president. I'm excited to be here today with our expert, Daniel Schuenemeyer, with St. Francis Medical Center. Daniel is an expert in business law, and we're so glad that he has joined us to give us insights into his career field. Please join me in welcoming Daniel. Good afternoon, Daniel. Thank you for being with us here. Before we begin, I'd like to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to our members. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, your position, and your employer?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here, and I hope that this helps future students as well. My name is Daniel Schuenemeyer. I am in-house counsel for St. Francis Healthcare System, which is a regional healthcare system that serves southern Missouri, southern Illinois, into Arkansas and the surrounding area. I serve as in-house counsel, so I do a variety of tasks for both our main campus hospital as well as our regional clinics. And so our employer, St. Francis, is a large employer in the area. It's actually the largest employer in Southeast Missouri. So it's a great organization to work for, and look forward to discussing it more as we go.
Wonderful. If you're ready, let's get started with some questions about your experience in business law.
Awesome.
So can you first share with us what a typical workday looks like for you?
And I'm sure you hear this all the time, but it's hard to say that there's a typical workday. Every day is different. Right now, especially with COVID and everything that we've got going on in the entire healthcare industry and in the world, it's very different every day, which is exciting, and I enjoy that. So most days, both before COVID and now, I get in between 6 and 7 in the morning. I usually start by, I'm in the building in the hospital. Right now I'm working from a home office, but if I'm in the hospital, I usually will round through the hospital and check in with some of our different departments, see how things are going, see how our census is doing in the building, ask questions about anything that may have happened in the last overnight or in the last day, any major events, and then start getting through some of the emails as we get ready we have a leadership meeting early in the morning. And so that's a daily meeting, and joining in on that and kind of seeing again, what's going on in our organization? What are some of the big events that are happening? From there, my day just varies. Some days I'll actually be in court. I'll actually be appearing on behalf of my client, St. Francis, in court. Some days I'll just be in meetings all day, just going from one meeting to another. Some days I may not have any meetings, and I may be sitting at my desk reading and writing, and that's the bulk of what an attorney does, is reading and writing. So every day is different. It's exciting, both from a professional learning experience opportunity as well as serving my clients as they serve our community. So awesome.
So you mentioned there was a lot of reading and writing involved in your position. So I expect that there were certain education requirements that you needed to be able to gain those skills. So what education requirements did you have to get to your position?
Great question. So I am a licensed attorney. In Missouri, to be an attorney, you have to basically two big pieces. You have to pass the bar exam, and you have to be a graduate of an American Bar Association accredited law school, which means that to get into law school, you also have to bachelor's degree, right? So I have a bachelor's degree and a doctorate degree in law from the University of Missouri School of Law there, right? So I've got 2 degrees there. I also have a master's in business administration from Southeast Missouri State University. And so that's just kind of another area that's not required, but that's been really helpful in my career. So all said and done, for me, it's 8 years of education to get here. Most people, it's 7 years of education to be an attorney. So a lot of education.
So to get the position then, besides just education, what did it look like applying for and receiving your position at St. Francis?
It was actually different than any other application I've gone through in that we had, of course, you have to be a member of the bar, you have to have your license and all of those things. Did the interviews, normal interviews, but one thing that was really different in my position is that they had a simulated call. So as an attorney for a hospital, we actually take call. You'll get calls either in the night or on the weekend, during the day, what have you. And so they simulated one of those. They simulated a patient that was having a end-of-life issue, and the physicians didn't know how to answer that issue. And so in that meeting, in my interview, we actually talked through how would I have answered that phone call that came in. And so that was really different. It was interesting. It was exciting. And that was one of the areas that drew me into healthcare law, was kind of seeing the real life applications to our patients.
So you mentioned that like healthcare law is like kind of a subset of law, is my understanding. So can you quickly describe maybe the difference between healthcare law and maybe a different type of law?
Absolutely. So law as a whole is just so vast. You've got everything from the big two buckets of transactional law, which are your deals, to litigation, which is your in-court room, right? But within all of those, there's all kinds of different areas. Before I was at St. Francis, I was a tax attorney in St. Louis, and so that's one niche area. You've got healthcare law. Being in-house, I do a lot of other business type law, such as employment matters, real estate, mergers and acquisitions, those type of matters. We have in transactional world, just broader, you have your big deals that will have international implications, that will have multi-state implications. If you switch over to the litigation side, you'll see personal injury, you'll see tort, mass tort, you'll see your run-of-the-mill dissolutions, all of those different areas that all fall in there. Criminal law, the law is very vast in the different areas that you can come across. For me, I deal a lot in the healthcare law side as well as the business law side, being in-house. So on the healthcare, we'll deal with end-of-life issues that may come up. You may see some beginning of life type issues as well. Those are usually areas that you see a lot of legal gray that in-house counsel will be involved with. You'll see some patient disputes. You'll see some consent type issues. Those are some of the different healthcare areas, some guardianship, those type of areas. But from the business side, again, we'll be dealing, I'll be working on a real estate matter, or maybe we're buying a physician practice, or maybe we're selling off one of our buildings. And so handling that side, maybe we are negotiating a big contract for our pharmaceutical company that we've got, those type of things that we'll just have various different matters that'll come through in an in-house counsel side. You also see a lot of the risk matters. What is our risk associated with this type of deal or this type of treatment that we may be doing, and how may we mitigate those risks? Very vast, but that keeps the day exciting as we go through it.
So it sounds that you do a lot of communication in your job. And that's good. I think that shows us that communication is vital no matter kind of what we do.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So earlier you also said something about the bar exam. So can you maybe compare this to other tests you might have taken, or maybe how you kind of handled that exam?
So the bar exam is unlike any other test that I've ever taken. I think that the big takeaway that I tell people all the time is that anyone can make it through law school, through the bar exam, if you're willing to do the work. The way that I approached the bar exam was, as soon as law school was finished, right there at the end of May, I studied and treated that as my full-time job from May until I actually sat for the bar at the end of July. You've got months where all I'm doing every day, 6 days a week, getting up in the morning, studying for the law school, the bar exam, sorry, and then going through in the review test in the afternoon. So it's study and review test, study and review test. And it works. I'm not the only one that'll say this. You'll find many lawyers that will say the same thing, that you've got a plan, you follow it, and you can make it through. The bar exam is only offered 2 times a year. It's a 2-day test. It takes all of 2 days, and it is nationwide. So the entire country, everyone is sitting for those exams on the same day so that there's no leakage of test questions around the country. And so you do kind of put a lot into it. Your jobs are really contingent upon it. You can't practice law if you don't pass the bar exam. So it's a big test, and I think because of the weight to it, if you've made it through law school, you're putting in the work to be able to pass that test.
Do you ever have to take the test again to keep your certification?
No, thank goodness. I am done with that. That is finished. We are moving past. Now, the only thing would be if you move states, there's different rules. Every state gets to control their own bar, right? So your own rules are only applicable in that state. And so if you go to another state, there's different ways that you may be able to practice there. If you've been practicing for long enough, they may let you join that bar exam just by saying, hey, I've been a good attorney in Missouri for 5 years. Will you let me be an attorney in your state too? And a lot of states will say yes. It is theoretically possible that you may have to retake the bar exam if you do change state. That would be terrifying, but it's doable. People do it. You find, especially in this area, people who are in like St. Louis or Kansas City, they'll actually take 2 bar exams. In July, they'll sit for the bar exam in Missouri, and then they'll turn around and sit for the bar exam in Illinois the following February, or the following February, they'll sit for the bar exam in Kansas so that they can be licensed in both of those states. Just a little nuance to our profession.
Yeah. And I think that's something that is found in anything that is particular to one state or another. But I think it's important also for you to be versed in that specific state.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there anything then that you have to do to continue your education? So if you don't have to retake that bar exam, is there anything else that you have to do to stay up to date and be good in your position?
Yes, so there's kind of 2 pieces here. So the first piece is that attorneys are bound by ethical rules. All of the attorney jokes aside, there are rules that attorneys have to follow based out of the Missouri Supreme Court that say these are the ethic rules. One of those is you have to be competent to be able to work on whatever matter you're doing. So if I pick up something new, it is my ethical obligation to study, to teach myself that matter of that area of law before I can start practicing in it. So if I've got a new area, if I've never done a real estate deal before, it's my obligation as an attorney to research that area to where I'm competent to be able to actually give legal advice in that area. And there's so many different tools out there, from legal research sites to classes that you can take to online classes to just different guides that come out. There are little books that just kind of walk through the different points. So that's kind of the first piece, and that's just everything that you do, you have to be competent in, and you've got to understand what you're advising. The second piece being to maintain your license. Every year there's certain educational requirements. You've got to maintain certain continuing education, some of which have to be live classes that you're attending, and these are like 1-hour classes or 5-hour classes that you may see to take those. Or you can do conferences. That's another big area that people will go in order to get all of those continuing education credits at once. They'll go to one big conference to knock those out. What's great is you'll find in a lot of different areas of law, there are these big national conventions that'll focus on that area. So in healthcare law, there's an organization called the American Health Lawyers Association. And so they'll put on a full conference for days, and you can go and they will just focus on healthcare law. And so you can go through, knock out all your education credits where you're maintaining your license, but you're also getting on the other side all of the competency that you need to be able to advise your clients in those areas. It's fantastic. I love those. It's also great for networking, which is huge.
That word networking, we often hear that a lot in FBLA-PBL as essential. How essential do you think it is in your position?
It's huge. So whether it is working with general counsel at one of our vendors, or working with counsel at another hospital because we've got something that we need mutual help on that we're working together on. Maybe it's networking just in career advice. Before I took this job, I was reaching out to attorneys that I knew, just saying, help me think through this, right? You're someone who's been there before. Can you help guide me through this decision of, should I leave tax law and go into this healthcare new area? And so that's great to have a network of people that can give you honest advice, that can say, yeah, this is a good idea. Have you thought about this? No, this is a really bad idea. Rethink this. So networking is huge. And you see it it's not just the network of people in healthcare law, but it's across all practices. You know, I keep in contact with people in tax law, even though that's not something I do now. I keep in contact with people that I've met through FBLA that are not attorneys, and that I just keep in contact with because they're great people, and it's great to maintain that network. So networking is important, I think, and again, you'll see it all the way across your entire career.
So, as you've been at this job for a few years and you've kind of seen, I'm sure, highs and lows as you've gone through it, has the job changed at all since you first started?
Absolutely. So just specific to us, a few years ago, there was no in-house legal department. They would always call an outside law firm to do something. And so as the general counsel, who is my boss, when he started this legal department, it was pretty niche and starting, we're just going to do a few contract reviews and just kind of growing. And that's what we've seen just over the last few years, is just more growth and things that we would used to use an outside law firm, but now we're bringing those in-house and having our in-house attorneys do that. You know, I think of guardianship hearings, which I mentioned earlier, going to court to have those guardianship appointments for our patients. That's one that's new, that's brought in-house. Again, it goes back to, you've got to teach yourself that area of the law before you do it, and then now we're doing that, and now that we're comfortable with those, then there was the next piece, and there was another area that was being brought in. So it just continues to grow as you get more efficient in what you're doing, which is fantastic. You get more confidence in what you're doing and can do it faster.
You've said this term in-house law a lot so far.
Yeah.
Can you explain that to us?
Absolutely. Great question. In-house means that I only have one client. My client is St. Francis Healthcare System. I am an employee for them. They give me a W-2 and a paycheck comes from them. I don't work for a big firm somewhere else, right? That is in-house. I work in St. Francis. You'll see there are the most attorneys actually work in firms, right? So you've got either a one-person firm or a multi-person firm where they have a variety of clients, lots of clients that are handling tons of matters all the time, right? You'll also see some people will be government attorneys that are working for the government, and they'll have specific areas that they'll be practicing in there. So basically, yeah, I think in-house, then there's outside counsel, and then you've got government attorneys are kind of the three buckets that I deal with a lot.
As you were preparing to go to that bachelor's program, did you anticipate going to law school from the very beginning?
I did, and this is something that's perhaps specific to me. I knew that I wanted to go to law school, but I also knew that I was scared of law school. And so I wanted to have a good backup plan. For me, that backup plan was accounting. And so I have an undergrad in accounting, and then my MBA has an emphasis in accounting as well. And so for me, that was something that I enjoyed and that I could see myself doing as a career if law school didn't work out. Fortunately, law school was difficult but doable, and so glad that I made it through that and now being able to practice law. And I say that in that I enjoyed accounting, and now I'm kind of able to do a lot of it, kind of the two coming together in many ways, and that especially like when I practiced tax law, that was a lot of both accounting and law. And even now doing a lot of the business law, the mergers, acquisition, those type of matters. There's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of math involved in those areas of law, and it's fun. I enjoy it.
kind of as our last question here, as a kind of a wrap up, kind of staying in that track, what kind of degrees do you kind of recommend for an undergrad that might prepare you well for that law school degree?
Benefit to law school is you can have any undergraduate degree coming into law school. So if there's something that interests you, like for me, it was accounting, it's okay to pursue that and then try to get into law school. In fact, I think that it's kind of the opposite of what most people think, that, oh, I need a political science degree or something to go to law school. That's fine, but that doesn't really give you something that's going to stand out, something that's going to help you both through law school and outside of law school. So I would say find a passion and then work that. If there's nothing that jumps out to you, lawyers do a lot of reading and writing. It's not like the TV shows. You're not standing in courtrooms all the time. Even those that are in courtrooms are not in courtrooms all the time. It's a lot of reading, writing. So if you had an English degree, that may be the other route to go. Someone that can really do well with the written language is going to succeed very well in law school and in the practice of law.
Well, Daniel, thank you for your time. And this concludes our questions for Expert Insights. It's been a pleasure interviewing you, and I know that our members will be more prepared for a career in business law because of what you've shared today.
Awesome.
Before we depart, one last thank you to you for participating in this series. In this virtual environment, we are pleased that we have so many dedicated supporters willing to inspire our members into becoming community-minded global leaders. Until next time, this has been Expert Insights.